Ikebana is the traditional Japanese art of flower arranging, using seasonal flowers and cuttings that are usually arranged in a vessel or vase. The idea of decorating indoor spaces with flowers first came to Japan about 1500 years ago, during the 6th century, along with Buddhism and its tradition of making offerings with flowers. Rokakuro Temple in Kyoto, officially referred to as Chohoji, is considered the birthplace of Ikebana. It's home to Ikenobo, the oldest and largest school of Ikebana, founded in the 15th century by a monk named Seno. According to an ancient document from Ikenobo, the high priest of Rokakuro, Senkei, was one of the most popular flower arrangers at the time. He became renowned for his works of art, and he was often asked to create pieces for the imperial palace. Around this time, Kyoto was hit hard by battles waged by powerful samurai warlords. Years later, as the story goes, Seno, who was now the high priest of Rokakuro, noticed shoots of plants sprouting up among the ruins. Seno was moved by nature's resilience, and in turn, he placed great importance on the spiritual aspect of flower arranging. He saw it as a path to enlightenment. So he brought structure and philosophy to the art form. And that's how the Ikenobo approach formed the foundation for the Ikebana we see today. What is Ikebana? There's more to Ikebana than flower arrangements. It's an act of expressing and appreciating life's beauty. It represents self-reflection and formal etiquette, a connection between the natural world and the human spirit. It engages an inner dialogue that allows someone to reflect on their feelings, making the most of what nature has given them. There's a Japanese saying that goes, "Flowers are your soul." Each arrangement is unique, and it reflects the mind of the creator. They are responsible for enhancing Mother Nature's beauty as much as possible in the form of Ikebana. When deciding on composition, they have to think three-dimensionally. Think of it as painting with flowers, every part of them, blooms, leaves, and stems, and using them to create lines and contrast. And if you can master it, it's a traditional mark of a cultured person. There are 3 ways of arranging flowers in Ikebana: Rikka, Shoka, and Jiuka. Rikka, also known as standing flower, is the oldest form out of the 3. In principle, a tall, narrow vase is used, and the flowers are arranged vertically. It was highly popular among aristocrats, merchants, and samurai. Shoka, a simplified form of Rikka, came about in the 18th century as a more accessible form of Ikebana. These arrangements are formed around 3 lines, hence only 3 types of plants are used. Shoka made its way into many homes with alcoves, which are still found in many traditional Japanese homes today. These recesses in the walls are an important element to welcoming guests in a traditional way. Alcoves are found in rooms that have tatami mats, and they're typically fitted with a hanging painting or calligraphy and a flower arrangement. And there's a correct way to view and appreciate these arrangements. First, you are to kneel down, 1 mat back from the alcove, facing the flowers without touching the binding of the mat. Next, bow, and then you begin studying the Ikebana closely. Start at the base, slowly scanning up, following the lines of the flowers, and then back down. Finally, you finish with another bow as gratitude to the person who created the arrangement. The third way of arranging flowers is jiuka, which translates to free-flowing. It's the most modern form of Ikebana that came about in the 1920s through Western influences. The floral artist can arrange things as they wish. There are no traditions or formalities here. However, one crucial point is it must clearly convey a sense of the seasons. Which brings us to AMKK and the experimental Ikebana that Makoto created, titled Damned Ikebana for MAEKAN.
Now initially, we weren't aware of the intricacies surrounding Ikebana. But the differences became that much clearer when AMKK created several different floral art pieces just for these set of stories. This included a whole series arrangement, as seen in their encyclopedias, a bottle flower which consisted of an assortment of flower petals and leaves, as well as this damned Ikebana. Yes, we presented our custom brand colors to Makoto and Shunsuke, and explained our approach to storytelling, but they didn't reveal all too much about what they had in store for us. They sort of just surprised us with everything, and in the process, left our entire team in awe. The sheer amount of preparation, attention to detail, and care that Makoto and Shunsuke put into these creations was unlike anything we'd ever seen. Simply put, the geniuses. And after getting a few daily orders out of the way, the pair spent the entire morning in their laboratory, meticulously fine-tuning these stunning art pieces for MAEKAN. The rest of the afternoon, on the other hand, was spent upstairs in their office-turned-studio space. Now, while we weren't familiar with all of the nuances of the Ikebana tradition, it was its simplicity in particular that stood out to us. That minimalism is certainly one of the defining features of the art, but AMKK interpreted that definition in its own way. To be honest with you, the extent of my knowledge going into this actually came from AMKK's Encyclopedia of Flowers No. 3, where Makoto and Shunsuke experimented with the traditional Japanese art form, using more exotic flowers to create extraordinary shapes and arrangements. But that was about it. I'd just flipped through a few pages. So after a bit of time to process everything, some insight from Makoto, and a lot of line messages with the AMKK team, we've come to respect Ikebana for both its tangible and intangible value. It's worth mentioning, Makoto didn't go to an Ikebana school or anything. This is just his interpretation on the whole thing. Yet, he respects its traditions. You just have to look at the seasonal flowers he selected for us, according to our Pantone colors, I might add. Here, we have a spring arrangement with an iris as a centerpiece, a clematis subtly positioned underneath, and a muscari bulb to top it all off. It took Makoto about 30 minutes to create this Ikebana before he passed it over to Shunsuke to document. Upstairs in the studio, the pair made a few tweaks before reaching a point where it all just clicked. In fact, there was a funny moment where Makoto had passed the reins over to Shunsuke, who spent an additional 30 minutes adjusting a few things, before Makoto jumped out of his chair, asked Shunsuke to stop, dashed downstairs to the laboratory, and came flying back up with a muscari bulb in hand. And this speaks to the way the pair operate so fluidly yet casually. It's almost a given when you work together with your high school best friend and freely smoke and drink at the office. A temple of a different sort, as it were. Ikebana certainly continues to enjoy its reputation as a high art steeped in calmness, introspection and silence, and rightfully so. If Ikebana's spirit is an act of expressing and appreciating life's beauty, the duo at AMKK look like they're doing just fine.